Hi, good morning. I'm Amir Rahman and welcome to ASEAN KITA, a show where we explore the stories, challenges and opportunities that lies within the region. Recently, US President Donald Trump announced substantial new tariffs affecting ASEAN nations, notably imposing a 24% tariff on goods from Malaysia and significantly higher rates of 46% and 49% on Vietnam and Cambodia. In response, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, currently ASEAN Chair, swiftly initiated discussions with regional leaders from Indonesia, Philippines, Brunei and Singapore, advocating for a coordinated and unified ASEAN response. Today, we're diving deep into Trump's tariff on how it is impacting markets, businesses and your daily life. Why is Trump imposing these trade restrictions and what does it mean for us here in Malaysia and our ASEAN neighbours? Joining us on the show to unravel this issue, Executive Director, Socio-Economic Research Centre, SERC, Mr. Lee Heng Guie. Good morning, Mr. Lee. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Good morning, Amiru. Yeah. And good morning to everyone listening to this show now.
Mr. Lee, to start off, in simple terms, what exactly are these Trump tariffs and why should the average Malaysian citizen even care about them?
Now, in a layman term, tariffs are a form of tax on imported goods. In the case when Malaysia exports their goods to the US, when the goods reach the shore of the US country, they will have to pay a tax. This is called tariff. So what Donald Trump did is that he announced a sweeping tariff on goods imported from the rest of the world. And it has two forms. One is the baseline, 10% tariff on goods on all nations. And the other one is a much higher, what we call reciprocal tariff, an additional up to 50% on individual country, which he finds that this country had enjoyed huge trade surplus with the US. And in this case, Malaysia was hit with a 24% tariff, as Malaysia incurred a 24.8 billion surplus with the US. And that includes most products, which exempted will be semiconductors, some of the energy product, even some of the what called the lumbering product. And this will hit Malaysia export. And what does it mean? Why Malaysia care for this? I think when our export of goods to US is subject to high tariff, 24%, it will make our goods less competitive and make it very difficult to sell in the US market. So when the demand falls, it will impact on our manufacture in Malaysia, and that will have effect on the low income, low employment, and also impact on our economic growth because our exports to US is about 13.2% of export share. So there will be also indirect effect because when there is a trade war, escalated trade war, full-blown trade war, it will impact the supply chain, it will cause the raw material price to increase, and that will also impact on the production and also impact on Malaysia. So when people will ask, it's between Malaysia and US, okay, our export to US will be subject to tariff, but Malaysia does not counter, and whatever goods coming from US to Malaysia will not be paying higher tariff, but there will be effect coming into indirect effect, which will make Malaysia goods more in terms of inflation, because of your indirect effect, impacted the supply chain. So whatever goods that come in may be reflected in a higher form of prices. Yeah.
Mr. Lee, looking back historically, has ASEAN or any other countries faced similar trade pressures from the US in the past? And if so, what lesson could Malaysia and other member states learn from those experiences?
I think if you recall back under Trump 1.0, when he was the first time became the president, he had launched a trade war with China. That was more between the two countries. So I think during a time, ASEAN, including Malaysia, to some extent benefited from the trade diversion effect. So Malaysia is one of the beneficiaries. And that time we benefited, but this time around it's a different ballgame because I think Trump realized that a lot of countries can reshipment to their goods to other countries and export to US. So this time around is a very different. He has a universal tariff, and also in addition to that, which I mentioned, he also used the reciprocal tariff tools to slap additional tariff on those countries that enjoy trade surplus with US. So I think the lesson to be learned, I think from Trump 1.0, we saw how the investor company has reconfigured the supply chain for security, and also they have continued to deepen more intra-regional trade, regional economic cooperation, and the company also continue to diversify their sources of the alternative supplier and also market. So that takes time. I think the lesson learned is that we must cannot continue, cannot rely on one single market. So I think diversification is the key as part of the management strategy for any company who are doing exports. So that, I think that's how we the lesson learned from the Trump 1.0. So I think the Trump 2.0, which is more scalable, more wider impact, more likely to be a full-blown trade war, the impact will be is likely to be significant. That's why a lot of countries started to negotiate with the Trump as the new tariff will start effective on 9 April. Yeah.
Mr. Lee, let's unpack Trump's motivation a bit. Were these tariffs genuinely driven by economic factors, or are there a strong political agenda behind this move, or maybe a bit of a combination of both?
I would say it's a combination of both. I think it will be more related to economic angle, because why your Trump call it a Liberation Day tariff? Because it's one of the policy tools which he claimed can help to make U.S. great again. Okay, I think he believed that this tariff is a form of cure. Yeah, by doing so, it will help to restore the strength or the supremacy of the American manufacturing sector, which America has lost out to the U.S. in terms of their strength of the manufacturing production in the world market. And he also wants to attract all the foreign multinationals, in particular the U.S. multinationals, to come back and set up plants and produce in the local market. That will help to increase jobs, help to increase the output of his economy. And in that case, it will also help to rebalance the trade. What he claimed, the imbalanced trade balance with the major trading partner. And when he slap a high tariff, it will help to raise the revenue, and that revenue will help to plug the deficit of the U.S. budget and also help to reduce the burden of the Americans. So I think he's taking this path, which is termed as Liberation Day, to make U.S. great again in the world stage, and not just in the manufacturing sector, but also in all fields, mainly related to technology. So I think in the space of political, there is still a political agenda. I think, as we know, U.S. has been targeting at China because the growing dominance of China in the international world stage, whether in the space of economic, trade, technology, or investment. So I think if you really look into the reciprocal tariff that he imposed on ASEAN countries, and generally they are much higher compared to the West, some country in the West. So to some extent, these are maybe he thinks the ASEAN are more aligned to the China. So I believe that it's this consideration of political and economic consideration when he implement this reciprocal tariff. Yeah.
Trump has consistently argued that his tariffs protect American workers and also to make America great again. But based on evidence, are we actually seeing positive results for U.S. industries and the job markets, or is that more rhetoric than reality?
Okay, if you look at the under Trump 1.0, many economists in U.S. or even other foreign countries have conducted study, and the study consistently show that the tariff war, the trade war tariff on the American economy is likely to be, during the Trump 1.0, the tariff has resulted have increased the prices of the consumer for the U.S. consumer, lower their economic output, and also the leading to lower employment since the start of the trade war in the year 2018. Yeah, so I think generally tariffs bad for the world trade. It also impact the investment, impact on the economic growth, and the worst the implication from the tariff is you make the American consumer pay more, and also the business. Yeah.
Speaking of this impacts on the United States itself, are American consumers and businesses really better off with these tariffs, or is the economic damage outweighing any perceived benefits, Mr. Lee?
I think I would expect the U.S. Consumer and business will impacted more damaging, compared to what he planned to collect more revenue from the tariff. I think he said that maybe short term they will suffer, short term pain for long term gain. As I mentioned, he wants to make American great again. By doing so, he would anticipate a lot of companies will decide to uproot their plant overseas and plant in U.S. and that will help to create jobs. When you create jobs, you make investment, make profit, and that will generate more revenue for the government, U.S. government, and that the revenue can help to fund a lot of investment projects and also reduce the fiscal deficit. So that is long term, but that would take some time if everything turn out to be a success. But in the near term, the U.S. consumer will have to bear higher prices because when the importer of the U.S. buy the goods from Malaysia, so they have to pay 24%. They will have to pass through to the consumer unless they can absorb part of the increase, which means that the consumer will pay more. When they pay more, it's more expensive. They will have to prioritize what are the things to spend. And then that will lead to a lower demand. Lower demand, there will be a lower output, a lower production, and it will hit also countries who export to U.S. Okay, so the business side will have to pay more, which means that their cost of production will increase, and which means that they also have to squeeze their margin, or even they have to either they increase the consumer prices, or they may making less profit, and eventually they may find it not profitable to continue to produce goods. So these are the effects, and then overall the effect will be leading to what we call lower income, reduced employment, and lower economic output. So this is the price in the short term which U.S. will have to bear. So the damage will be very significant to me. That's why it reflected in concern of the stock market, the bond market, concern about inflation will go higher. The risk of recession in U.S. has increased significantly to about 60% now. If U.S. go into recession and countries like China slow down even more, then that will put a global economy into a bigger slowdown or even a global recession. Yeah.
Well, there's still a lot to unpack on Trump's tariff, but we'll take a short break now and we'll be right back after this.
Nak coklat? Hari ni tak boleh. Nanti saya kena dengan mak saya.
Pepsodent baharu disahkan halal. Mikrokalsium aktif dan Proflorida kompleks membantu memperbaiki lubang halus akibat makanan manis sebelum menjadi kaviti untuk perlindungan maksimum. Pepsodent.
Orang tua kat kampung. Setahun sekali, tunggu semua balik beraya. Tak sabar rasanya hati. Moga-moga raya ni taklah sepi lagi.
Di era digital, pemasaran bukan hanya tentang penjualan semata-mata. Penceritaan menarik jadi kekuatan dalam membina hubungan perniagaan, tingkat pengetahuan, perkasakan perniagaan anda. Saksikan segmen Jiwa SME dalam program AWANI Pagi dan Niaga AWANI setiap Isnin hingga Khamis di saluran 501. Dibawakan oleh penaja utama jelajah Jiwa SME, Unify Business, rakan digital pilihan anda.
5 lelaki penghantar makanan didakwa di Mahkamah Magistrate Bangi atas tuduhan membunuh seorang pemandu kereta lelaki dalam satu kejadian.
4 sungai di sekitar kawasan perindustrian Pasir Gudang di Johor termasuk Sungai Kim Kim didapati tercemar dan berada pada tahap yang membimbangkan. Kerajaan sudah mulakan inisiatif untuk menggantikan kenderaan operasinya kepada kenderaan elektrik EV dalam skala kecil terlebih dahulu.
Di dalam setiap berita yang dibawa, konteks amat penting. Kami sentiasa membawakan yang tergempar dan terkini. Pastikan Astro AWANI menjadi pilihan anda, tidak kira di mana sahaja anda berada.
Welcome back to ASEAN KITA. Today we are exploring the impact of Trump's tariffs on Malaysia and ASEAN. With us now is our guest, Executive Director, Socio-Economic Research Centre, SERC, Mr. Lee Heng Guie, who will shed light on whether these trade moves genuinely benefit Americans or simply disrupt global economies, including ours here in ASEAN. Mr. Lee, from Malaysia's perspective, which specific industries or sectors will be hit the hardest by Trump's recent trade policies, and how severe is the situation?
Okay, now about 74% of Malaysia exports to US will be impacted. Yeah, so these are electrical products and machinery equipment, scientific optical equipment, rubber products, including rubber gloves, furniture products, and also the palm oil. So the exception will be your semiconductor. Semiconductor, for time being, is exempted under the EO, the Executive Order of the President, and that semiconductor segment make up about 22.8% of the total exports of Malaysia to the US. So for time being, there's a relief because semiconductor is a major export item to US. And the other items which are for time being exempted will be those related to what I call some of the energy products and even like other related to those lumbering and etc. That also make up about 6 billion, which is about 2.8% of the export to the US. So, but I would like to caution you that even though semiconductor is exempted for now, but there's a clause mentioned that they still can subject to future action under a special what I call Section 232 of the U.S. Expansion Trade Act of 1962. So this is something that we have to be cautioned because Trump did indicate that in the near term he may consider tariff on the semiconductor and pharmaceutical industry. So that's something that we have to continue to monitor and engage with the U.S. government on what are the solutions that we can come out together with the U.S. side in order to come out a more acceptable type of solution to address the imbalanced trade between U.S. and Malaysia. So in summary, sectors will be impacted, which I mentioned just now, but I think relative to other countries, even though our tariff is lower, but eventually when I mentioned when the global demand slow down, economy slow down, ultimately all sector, all country export will be impacted. So this is something that we are concerned because export is one of the engine to support the Malaysian economy. Yeah.
On the flip side, Mr. Lee, are there any ASEAN industries or businesses finding unexpected opportunities or benefiting from Trump's ongoing trade tensions, particularly between the US and China?
Now, if you look at the ASEAN side, I think if you compare, as I mentioned, if you compare Malaysia tariff 24%, so we are considered one of the among the lowest. Yeah? If you compare ourselves to Singapore, even lower, 10%, Philippines, 18%. But kalau you compare with countries like Vietnam, their hit is hit by 46%, Laos 48%, Cambodia 49%, Thailand 37%, Indonesia 32%. So I think relative to them, if let's say we are selling the same products to US, so we look competitive at the first order. Now, when I mentioned when the goods going to US, regardless from which of the ASEAN country, when it's more expensive, the consumer will start to think whether they want to buy more. So when they start to reduce spending, so your product demand for a product will be lower, that will also impact you, the final order. So I think this is what we find that we can be competitive at the very first stage, but subsequently when the overall demand slow down, it will be hitting your export as well. So this is something we have to be mindful. But just to give you a flavor of how this tariff impact on some country, like in the case of Indonesia, they are more at the some of the low-end products like textile industry. They also similar like palm oil, electronics, and rubber furniture, and also like Vietnam mainly are textile-related furniture, and also some of the low-end E&E products. So I think most of the ASEAN countries, except for Singapore, which is more services economy, the rest of the ASEAN are more sharing same common type of products. It's just that the degree of the tariff imposed on each of the ASEAN countries is different. That may give some edge to Malaysia, but ultimately everyone will be hit when U.S. economy slow down, global economy slow down, and China demand slow down. Because when China slow down, the demand for intermediate goods will be slower, and that will also cascading down the supply chain and also hit those countries that supply the intermediates to China or other countries that had engaged a severe tariff war with the U.S.
I think this is the million-dollar question. Could Trump's tariffs potentially make everyday product less affordable for ASEAN consumers, including here in Malaysia? And are we already seeing signs of this happening?
Definitely, I mentioned to you just now that the indirect effect, direct effect from supply chain disruption, cost of raw material, that will hit our shore when we buy goods, whether it's from US, from other countries. So I think a very good example is iPhone. I think iPhone, which is the easiest example to quote, is expected that iPhone price will increase to about $2,300 per unit because of the intermediate inputs that go into the iPhone. Also come from other countries, even like Malaysia. Ultimately, when we buy, we also have to pay a higher final price. So I think what we are concerned is that we have to look into those which we depend a lot on consumption items, daily products, and also some of the food-based products. And you must understand, for example, if the fertilizer price increase, assuming that they increase, and that will lead to the cost of production higher, ultimately you could see a final impact on the consumer prices. So at this moment, it's difficult to gauge certain to what extent the inflation will go up. But for sure, I think even before the tariff, Bank Negara already estimate the inflation for this year is between 2 to 3.5%. They have factored in the potential subsidy rationalization and other related pressure on food prices. So I think on the consumer. So on this, I think government may also have to reconsider back on the timing of the subsidy rationalization and other potential increases in the potential increase in the electric tariff, and other changes in the policy may put pressure on the business costs. I think at this moment we have to relook at all these potential changes in domestic policy in the current situation where we are so uncertain with the impact of the tariff on Malaysia, growth, economy, and also on the business and the consumer. Yeah.
Mr. Lee, could an unintended consequences of Trump's tariffs be that ASEAN nations, including Malaysia, actually end up strengthening economic ties with China rather than distancing themselves from it?
No, I think this Trump liberation tariff is a wake-up call. I think it's a reset of the global international trading system, which compel the ASEAN to grow stronger in their intra-regional trade, which is currently about 23 to 25% of the intra-regional trade, which is still low. So I think it's more important for ASEAN countries to continue to engage among themselves and also with those countries in the region like China, Korea, Japan, to continue to deepen the regional economic integration. I think we have the RCEP, we have the CPTPP, we have the China-ASEAN Free Trade Area, which is now going to upgrade to version 3.0, which we expect Malaysia's ASEAN chair, and this year definitely they will formalize the protocol signing of the China-ASEAN 3.0. So I don't think we should, ASEAN should not distance from China, though that China is in a headlock with the US in this tariff war. But I think China will continue to engage. I think not just with China, Japan, Korea, but with other countries like in the Middle East, in the Gulf region, in order to, we still believe the principle of free trade, right? I don't think anyone wants to close that door, because trade, when there's a trade going on, that will also help to improve the well-being, the economy progress, prosperity through all this investment, through increasing productivity. So I think it's important that the trade is not obstructed, with all these tariffs here.
Mr. Lee, in the final minute that we have, if Trump's tariffs continue over the long term, what strategic shifts or policy changes should ASEAN, especially Malaysia, consider adopting to protect economic stability and growth?
I think it's what I mentioned just now. I think if you look at how the individual countries deal with this tariff, they had offered some what called the room for negotiation. Like in the case of Vietnam, they say they're going to bring down the tariff from U.S. goods to zero, but that may not please the U.S. They want them to look into non-tariff. Like in the case of Indonesia, they say want to liberalize further their investment framework regulation. So I think Malaysia also has making his statement on how to further engage with U.S. to have cooperation in what I call under the Trade and Investment Framework Agreement, and also they will tie up with technology safeguard agreement with U.S. to encourage high technology cooperation in what we call the semiconductor, aerospace, and digital economy. And there's a lot of things ongoing. So I think the concept is, I think I would expect ASEAN will further solidify, their approach, how to deal with this potential disruption coming from the tariff, and it's not just for against what Trump. I think going forward they will have continue to deepen their intra-regional economic cooperation in all fields. Is important. The sharing of what I call the knowledge in all fields, like technology, communication, digitalization, AI is important. Of course, there are some disparity in the level of development between some ASEAN countries, but those who are more at the advanced stage, they can share with those who need facilitation support, technical support. I think it's important. And most importantly, I would like to mention that in the case of Malaysia side, I think there's a lot of initiative that ongoing by MITI and also MIDA. One of the areas is to look into how do we have more free trade agreement with those Gulf region country, and they also pursue one with the EU, and also some of the initiative ongoing continue to engage industry and help them to facilitate them to find diversified export market. I think that need a lot of facilitation, whether it's in the form of grant and also technical support. I think from there, we as I say, it's a reset. It's a big reset for the world trade system. And Malaysia is a small trading nation, and we definitely will continue to push for more export capacity, whether coming from large company, also for the SME, to make our exports more vibrant, going forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. That wraps up our discussion today on ASEAN KITA. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for more insightful discussion next week. I'm Amar Rahman. Have a great day ahead.